Chickasha City Council meeting to order. Need a roll call, please.
Boyd.
Here.
Nelson.
Here.
Ginn. Here. Hebblethwaite. Here. Smith.
Present.
Alexander. Here. Burris.
Here.
Gertis.
Here.
Grayson.
Here. We'll have the opening prayer by Erica and the Pledge of Allegiance by Brian.
You want to hand me that mic?
Oh, yep.
Let's pray. Father God, we gather here tonight and ask for your wisdom and guidance. We thank you for the city of Chickasha. We thank you for the provision for the ability to run the city. We ask that you are with us and guide us in all that we do. It's in your name that we pray. Amen.
Pledge of allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you both. All right. Item number 2, citizen comments. I have one. Mr. Chet Hitt.
I'd like to thank the council and Zach Grayson, Keith Johnson, the police department, and the sheriff's department as well. I had a 10 downtown Chickasha that drugs and other things that are not good, some gunshots went off. Those are things that I will not tolerate as a tenant. Their lease came due. I did not renew it. Had some controversy there, but I was able to call the mayor and say, hey, I'm concerned about this, and City of Chickasha's police department and the county sheriff's department did a great job. No vandalism. There was threats that they were going to bust all our windows out, and they showed up in force the other night. So I just want to say great job and thank you.
Thank you, Chet.
Thank you.
And that is the only one, so we'll move on to council communications. We want to start with,
Police officer's oath.
yep, we want to go with the police officer's oath.
You raise your right hand and repeat after me, please. I, Riley James Poppy, having been duly appointed as a police officer of the City of Chickasha, County of Grady, State of Oklahoma, do solemnly swear that I will defend, enforce, and obey the Constitution and laws of the United States of America, State of Oklahoma, and the ordinances of the City of Chickasha. I will obey the lawful orders of my superior officers and the regulations of the City of Chickasha and the police department, that I will faithfully discharge my duties and responsibilities as a citizen of the United States. On my honor, I will never betray my badge, my integrity, my character, or the public trust. I will always have the courage to hold myself and others accountable for our actions. This I do solemnly swear this 16th day of December, 2024. That's it. Thank you. Congratulations.
Do we have any other council communications?
I've got just a couple of things. On Old Highway 81 and the Highway 81 intersection, there's a huge pothole right there south of the railroad track. People turn in off of 81 to go to the travel plaza and you know, down in that area. And I mean, it was concrete at one time, but there's a huge pothole right in the middle and people are going both sides. So I didn't know who's responsible for that since it's no longer the Highway 81, it's Old Highway.
Is that, Keith, do you know if that's back in our inventory since it's old Highway 81?
I have to look and see if that's DOT or us, but we'll certainly look into it
Okay.
and coordinate with them if we need to.
And then, you know, we had a tragedy on Saturday night involving a bicyclist and a pickup. And I've almost hit a bicyclist as well, and I mean, they need to be aware they have to follow the rules like a vehicle, basically, of the road, and they don't stop for stop signs, and I'm not laying blame on anybody. Luckily, when I about hit the guy that I hit, I was going under the speed limit. It was dark. It was nighttime. He didn't have lights. I was able to stop, but that's not always the case. But I'm just wondering, is there any thoughts of going residential at 25 miles an hour versus 30? Because we're at 25 in downtown. 30 is pretty fast, and everybody stretches it a little bit. If you say 30, I mean, I've witnessed people flying by my house at 40, 50 miles an hour because they're late to work, late to wherever. And, you know, and it's kind of dangerous. You got kids in those residential areas. So just a thought, and I don't, you know, just putting it out there, seeing what everybody else's thought is to residential being 25 versus 30.
So would that be something that could, if we so choose, could that be like a blanket, like inside city limits and residential it's 25, or is it, like, how's it wind up being separate anyway around?
Yeah, maybe Rachel could respond to that as well, or police chief or somebody, but we generally try to be consistent on the same size or type of street, but I realize that, you know, 30 may be too high of a number in some places, and we need to look at reducing that.
Well, and I think, you know, the streets that have stop signs on every intersection, you're not going to get up to 30 miles an hour in a block. I mean, you can if you want to, but, you know, it's the ones that are straight throughs when you don't have traffic lights, you don't have, you know, you might have one stop sign every half a mile or so. And that's the ones that are the dangerous ones, and those are our major through streets, the north-south streets. And I suppose the Iowa Street as well, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's certainly something we should be constantly vigilant about, and being aware of increase in traffic flow. Sometimes a street's not very busy, and then a subdivision comes in, and suddenly that street's like a highway. So we're constantly looking at those issues.
Well, 8th Street's always been busy, and I've had constituents up and down that street complain about the high flow, you know, or the speeds as people come through it.
6th Street's the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
Rachel, did you have any input on that?
Yeah, and that's not efficient, stopping at every corner. I'm not a, you know, big fan of that either, but, you know, 30 miles an hour is really pretty fast, especially at dark and at nighttime.
I'm just going to say that would probably take reworking the entire section of the speeding ordinance for the city. There are several different parts of the ordinance that clearly define what speed is on what streets. And that would take some doing. I'm not saying I'm opposed to it, I'm not saying I'm in favor of it, but that would take some time and consideration.
Yeah.
Council and guests, I'd have to say I'm opposed to it. Our citizens have had a lot of limitations in our community, from section line railroad crossings closed, 3 of them in one night, schools placed with school zones all day flashing through the whole day when it doesn't need to happen.
Yeah.
Different developments, just streets that wouldn't really fully facilitate flow to different companies and different crowded areas around the school and whatnot. 34 years I've lived here, it's getting harder to cross town all the time. And I think a lot of other people noticed it too, especially those, there's many in industries that require delivery service. Thinking a lot of these yard people and different tradesmen that's got to move about our town, we've made it worse. We've made it difficult. So I understand a tragedy, and I understand there's people that are probably not obeying what they should there.
Yeah.
Let's punish them and not our citizens, is my thought.
Okay. I mean, like, that's fine. I mean, and I agree, you don't have to go 30. I mean, I go 25 just to make people mad behind me half the time.
Yeah.
So, and I've had people pass me because I was going 30 and that wasn't fast enough for them. And then they blew a stop sign on Iowa. Luckily, no one else was coming.
Great.
But like I said, I realize you don't have to go the speed limit. But anyways, okay.
Thank you.
I have a reminder. I was going to ask city manager, and we haven't, I don't know that we've really talked about it since May 20th, but the Shannon Springs pedestrian bridge is still kind of a hot topic for me as far as it's becoming very degraded, actual holes in the floor and timber of them. And I was wondering if we had advanced towards getting it evaluated, getting a bridge inspection, like a legitimate, finding, since we need to move towards replacement at some point. And
Yeah.
so I was wondering where we were at on that.
We are looking at eventual replacement of that bridge. We've had our city engineer take some look at it, but it hasn't issued a formal engineering report that I'm aware of. I don't think we've gone that far yet. We're also in the process of seeking grant funds to help us finance the cost of that replacement as well.
Right.
We're aware that it's in a deteriorating state, and the pilings underneath are wearing out as well as what's visible on top. So we're aware that it needs to be replaced.
Yeah, I'm actually had people say they're dodging, wherever the holes are in the actual walk path of it now. So it's becoming, we really rely on that in the park. So we ought to, I don't know if we can over prioritize it or put some additional emphasis on it to get through the, I don't know, the rigors of inspection.
Yeah.
And a valid, I think you have to come to those conclusions before you get to the replacement part of it. So
Right.
anyway, I just wanted to throw that reminder out there that it's not getting any better. So
Yeah. Thank you.
thanks.
Thank you, Kelly. Anybody else?
Mayor, is this time I could pull some items from the consent docket?
We're actually not going to move on to that right now. I'm about to recess. We're going to go to the Chickasha Airport Authority.
Okay.
So, yeah, we'll have an opportunity when we come back.
Thank you.
Charlie. No other communication. I'd like to recess the Chickasha City Council meeting. And get
I make a motion that we recess the city council meeting at this time.
Second.
discussion. Roll call, please.
Boyd,
Yes?
Nelson,
Yes.
Ginn. Yes. Ebblefight,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Alexander,
Yes.
Burris,
Yes.
Curtis,
Yes.
Grayson.
Yes. I would like to call to order the Chickasha Municipal Airport Authority. A roll call, please.
Boyd,
Here.
Nelson,
Here.
Ginn. Here. Hibblethwaite. Here. Smith. Alexander.
Here.
Burris.
Here.
Curtis.
Here.
Grayson.
Here. The reason I did that is because depending upon action we take on an agenda item here, it affects the Chickasha City Council meeting, so you can't do one before the other, so that's why I did that. Item number 2, consent docket.
Make a motion that we accept the consent docket as presented.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Nelson,
Yes.
Ginn. Yes. Hibblethwaite.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Alexander.
Yes.
Burris.
Abstain.
Curtis.
Yes.
Boyd.
Yes.
Grayson.
Yes. Item number 4, discussion, consideration, and possible action to approve resolution number 24-21R, approving and accepting the First Amendment to the Trust Indenture creating Chickasha Municipal Airport Authority dated August 16, 1993, approving and authorizing amending Article 3 of the Trust Indenture by deleting Part H so as to remove the primary purpose of the trust and replace Part H with the purpose to allow for promotion of economic development, the development of the aeronautical industry within and without the territorial limits of the beneficiary municipality, and to provide additional employment opportunities with the intent to benefit and strengthen the economy of the beneficiary and of the state of Oklahoma. Approving and authorizing and amending Article 7A2 of the trust indenture to provide that the powers held by the trustees relating to the property of the trust applies to real and personal property, authorizing and approving the execution of the First Amendment to the first indenture and containing other provisions related thereto.
I make a motion that we approve Resolution 2024-24R as presented.
Second motion.
Discussion.
I really think we need to lay this aside for a work session, this matter. I don't know, I guess I've been advised in the past, council perhaps had their packets on Thursday night, had the evening of Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and part of the day Monday before the meeting to discuss such matters. And this one hits us at 5-something on a Friday, and about 72 hours later, we're making a very big decision about something that has been in place, very important matter that has not needed any change for quite a few years, 30-plus years, isn't it? So the matter, very curious as to, I don't know why we would change a primary purpose of anything that's so important to our community, and the matters of any explanation I've had about what we may want to do in the future seem to be all contained in this 33-page original matter of how we got to this trust that empowers us to even be here today discussing the Chickasha Airport.
I agree with you, there needs to be discussion on it, and I know the city staff has put hundreds of man-hours into this topic, and so if we have questions of them, now would be the opportune time to ask.
That would bring a big question if we put hundreds of man-hours in it, including any expenses. Council and the community would like to know what brought this on.
Well, let's ask them.
I'll be glad to respond a little bit to that, and staff as you need to. Yeah, the hundreds of man-hours have been going into a lot of changes that we've been making at the airport, which I've spoken to a little bit in previous city council meetings. We now have a permanent airport manager, which we have not had in some time. Over the course of the summer, we've been building new T hangars and box hangars that will generate additional revenue for the airport. We are looking at plans in the future to build a new terminal building at the airport that will be much more functional for not only the pilots that come in and out, but allow the community to have some meeting space for not just necessarily airport-related activities, but a much more new and improved terminal building for our airport that will make it more of an attractive place to attract commercial business to our airport. We know that we need to come up with a long-term plan for the existing buildings that are out there, those hangars that have been there since World War II and probably were actually built or first constructed before World War II, need to be replaced. They're no longer functional, and they're actually increasing the liability to the airport and to the city the longer we wait to do something with and either replace or, I'm not even suggesting we repair them because I think they're beyond their useful life, but replacing that space for hangar space. So along that line, I think Mr. Burris really hit the nail on the head when he said we've got a piece of ground out there that's existed for 20, 30 years with nothing being done. And that's really what the purpose of this amendment or change is to focus on that industrial park property, what some have termed the road to nowhere, because we've got a nice paved road, but no development that has occurred in that industrial park. So what the purpose of amending this trust is, the intent is to help us with economic development opportunities and hopefully be able to develop that industrial park into a more attractive location for potential light industrial or development to occur that will generate economic activity on that ground. The existing trust document limits a little bit our ability to transact economic development business. It's really focused on benefiting government. If you read that, particularly paragraph A of the trust indentures, it really focuses on the U.S. government, the state of Oklahoma government, or the city of Chickasha government. And this allows us to not make those first three paragraphs of that existing trust indenture what's called the primary focus or primary reason for the trust to exist. This allows us more latitude and more choices so that we can then start to market that industrial park facility to potential developers and again generate economic activity on that ground. And so I would characterize this as saying that there has not been hundreds of hours spent on this particular amendment. There has been a number of hours spent by our staff and our city council, our legal counsel, but this is a fairly minor change to the trust document that allows us those opportunities. Any development project that is presented ultimately has to come before the city council to be approved, whether it's an economic development plan where we want to revert some revenue back to an individual developer to help them incentivize their opportunity, or if we want to approve a particular type of business or economic opportunity out there at the park. Those individual projects and proposals will have to come back before the city council for approval. This doesn't just grant license for the staff to go about and do anything. So that's in a nutshell kind of the high level reason why we've brought this proposal forward is based on advice from our legal counsel. We ought to make this change that allows us to pursue those economic development opportunities.
City Manager, I believe my thoughts were taken out of context. I mean, during those years, I think this has served us well and not limited us in any way. I feel like past administrations, councils, managers, airport advisory boards and whatnot have not been limited in any way on seeking economic development matters. I don't know what other reasons they would have fallen through.
Yeah, I would just say that our experience has shown that we have not been able to be successful in attracting businesses to that industrial park, and this will give us some additional tools to be able to do that, to be more marketable.
I would like to address the elephant in the room too. This wasn't a project driven by our EDC. Economic development verbiage in there is just for actual action
Right.
In the indenture.
Yeah,
So I just wanted to address that.
I'll ask the question, what person said we need to have this amendment?
Well, I did, and our legal counsel did. There's no hidden agenda, so to speak.
Well, I'm not talking about hidden agendas, it's just, I've discussed with Zach about doing amendments to the CIA, and the response was, that's great, we'll have a work session, we'll get all the council together and discuss this. And when somebody asks the question, well, who's behind that? Guess what? John Smith's gonna raise his hand and say, I'm the guy.
Yeah.
When things happen, I wanna know who's behind it. What person is the one that's pushing it? And you just explained why it was being pushed. When did this start?
Oh, we started having internal discussions on this a couple of months ago.
It actually was brought up, if I remember correctly, in one of our work sessions a couple of years ago, when we were talking about what we could do for the city of Chickasha, and the industrial park area was brought up out by the airport.
Well, and it was brought up because the city at one point did hire a developer to develop that land, and that developer got paid, but sit out there and did nothing. And just took the money and ran. And I believe, and I may be misspeaking on that time frame, but we had an outfit that wanted, not that we would have done that, but wanted to build a warehouse for a marijuana grow out there on some of the airport property. And that fell through as well. Like I said, not that council would have approved it, but it fell through for reasons like this, that it wouldn't allow for us to even entertain the ability to have that discussion.
Can we be certain that the limitations from those falling through were contained within the matters of this 33-page document?
I think those players have moved on, Charlie. I don't even remember the outfit that was trying to do it, to be honest with you. So I'm sure there's a record somewhere in the agenda items that who they were.
There could be a multitude of reasons that something falls through, but we ought to be able to tell council, yes, underline right here and show us. This matter kept us from doing what we needed to do at the time. And we weren't provided any more than the actual matters as to what I guess city staff and council want it to be now. I had to dig to find what we're changing, and I still had to make a lot of notes about, okay, what part's in and what part's out of this. It'd probably been really nice to be able to compare it, and I don't think that we have time to do that tonight. I don't think it's fair to the importance of the subject.
I think that's what operation is, that the staff has done that and they're presenting their best option for us to consider. They're the ones that put in the time, and with legal counsel, put in the time and effort to decide, what's the best course of action for the best betterment of Chickasha, and it's for us to decide whether they've done their job or not. It's the legislative side of things. Legal counsel's telling you this is how it should be. At this point, do you believe your counsel and your staff, or, trust the experts or not?
I feel like we're here to trust but verify this information. Was this passed through the advisory board?
What advisory board are you?
The airport advisory board, was this?
No, this doesn't affect aviation or airport operations. So.
Okay. I guess I'm the same as Charlie. I think we need a work session to make sure that's the only change we need to make. I feel like, it's been the same for 30 years. It may be worth going through it first. And another thing I heard you say about the World War II hangars, I'm really concerned that we would want to tear those down because they're part of our history with the Army Air Corps training facilities, but that's for a different time, I guess.
It's part of our consideration is the historic value and connection that people have to that. That's really why they're still there.
Right. They survived.
Reluctance to just tear them down. That's right. We would like to if we can just at least keep some facade so that
Right.
the appearance is there. There's options that we're considering, but we haven't reached a point where we're ready to advise the council on what we want to do with those.
Keith, so if I understand this right, this wouldn't effectively change the way the airport operates at all?
No, this has very little impact.
Take powers from them, it doesn't limit them in operating anyway, it just allows the city the flexibility to have further discussions of what we want to do with that industrial property that's out there that has nothing to do with airport
Correct.
operations in the first place.
Correct.
I've always been under the understanding, or they've always said before, you know, no proof, nothing was presented to show us that, hey, this is how it's the way it really is, that any industry that went on out there had to be aeronautical in nature.
Yeah, that's part of the hundreds of hours that we've been spending on the airport project as a master planning project, so to speak. We hired a firm to help us with the title search of the airport property and what's included in airport property and what isn't, to get a better understanding of what's legally there. It's our understanding that the industrial park property has been released by the FAA from that requirement of it being aviation-related industry. We believe that it's now open to any type of industrial development, consistent with the zoning codes and so forth. The FAA still does maintain some control over height restrictions in the area, so buildings would have to be limited to certain heights, but again, those specifics of a development project would have to be reviewed by the Planning Commission, by this city council, before anything like that takes place. But this kind of, as I said, opens the door for us to pursue those things.
And what about, basically they have zero access to the airport from because the fence is up, and I was always under the understanding that they could not break that barrier of the fence to come in. So say you have a repair shop of airplanes that
Right.
wants to come in, well, you know, they need a runway to get over there to their shop. Is that possible, or is that this new?
My understanding is that that is possible to still have aviation-related projects, but it's not required that they be aviation or aeronautic businesses.
So they can cut the fence,
Yeah.
or put a break in the fence,
Build
and put a runway if they needed to, or
Right.
an entry.
Yeah.
But, I mean, and I, you know, if nothing else, just a good email that's saying, hey, this is what we're looking at, this is a deal, so that we're not caught off guard, because I had no clue when this comes up, and to Charlie's point, and I think I've mentioned in the past, it'd be nice to have, you know, hey, this is the section we're changing, we're going, and that's the way it used to be, or when I worked in the government, that's the way we always had it. We had, this is what it reads now, this is how we want it to read next, so that we would see the difference when you're going through it. It makes it easier, and that way we understand what's being changed. It's, like Charlie said, to find a 33-page document and then try to read through it, I don't have time to do that on a weekend. And I realize it's not really our job, but that's part of making it easier on us. Here it is, this is what we're changing, and it's changing to this. And then, you know, we're not getting into y'all's business, and it's easy. That's my 2 cents on it.
Keith, I received a couple of calls that I just wanted to clarify as well. Is there any loss of revenue and mineral rights in that area?
Loss of revenue from
Someone questioned that we were receiving a lot of money for mineral rights out there, that they felt like that would, I didn't know. I'm not familiar enough with the area to know where the mineral
We
rights.
do have some mineral rights in the airport area that we have received revenue for. We generally lease that to oil and gas developers from time to time, and we're receiving that revenue. I don't think it's a monthly type payment. They pay us when they are awarded the lease.
And another question, revenue earned, let's say that we did, this would all go back into the airport. So you're not looking at revenue that would be used anywhere outside of, I'm just trying to understand that a little better.
Like if a development happened and proceeds were gained, would it stay with the airport, or would it go into the general fund, or what?
To stay in that,
Is that what you're asking?
yeah,
Kia?
deposited still in the airport fund.
I'm not sure that it would have to be retained in the airport account. That's probably a topic that needs a little more discussion of.
But this is to my point, that this is a discussion that would happen when something is proposed, right,
Correct.
before it comes to us. This is just enabling us to have those things proposed. Up until this point, we're not having those discussions because there's nothing to talk about. And that's when a project is presented to us, that's when we hash out all that
I think I put the
detail
carriage in
stuff.
front of the horse a little bit. Yeah.
Exactly.
Kia, it would be fair to ask currently how we operate. Our oil and gas proceeds or any income from the airport, what do we do with it?
Our oil and gas.
What are our
yeah.
limitations?
Our oil and
right
gas
now?
proceeds do stay within the CMAA, within the airport authority.
For any uses that we so choose within CMAA?
Yes.
And to change this could mean that some future proceeds
No, this won't affect the oil and gas proceeds.
ever?
Yeah, as far as I know, never. I mean, I was reluctant to say always or never, but yeah, this should not have any impact on those oil and
Is
gas.
staff envisioning a sale of property perhaps on the portion that seems prime for economic development?
That is a potential, but again, that's a city council decision. I mean, the staff might make a recommendation, but
Would we remember if we did sell that, which I believe we have the authority to do that within what we have. If we did, would we be perhaps considerate enough to withhold the royalty and mineral rights to the city and not part with those?
So surface rights only?
oh,
Good way of putting it.
Normally how we
yes.
Your lingo, right?
It's yours. Good job.
We certainly could reserve mineral rights if we sold a piece of property. That's typical or common for that to happen, but sometimes you decide it's best to sell the mineral rights with the land, but that would,
This-
again, would be a choice of the council.
This doesn't necessarily mean the sale of the land. It could be long-term lease to a company, could it not?
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah, this change doesn't guarantee anything will happen.
Yeah,
That's the way
the
I
city has a
understood it.
number of options. We could build a spec building and entice somebody to come to a building that we build, or we could wait for a developer to build it to their custom needs and enter into a long-term lease, or we could sell it outright where they either buy a land-in building or just the bare land. There's a lot of options that we could consider.
George, and I don't believe we're prohibited from engaging in a long-term lease right now under the current agreement.
I think what they're saying is it's been like this for 30-plus years and nothing has happened. So this, again, is a possible tool to maybe, by not restricting it just to aeronautical businesses, to open up the potential of a new industry coming to town, bringing more jobs and things like
I
that.
think you just told me something. Should I be learning here that currently we are limited to only aeronautical businesses if we develop that park?
No, we're not currently limited to that. There is, I guess, a common belief, and there have been parts of the property of the airport proper over time that were limited to being aeronautical use only. But we believe the research that we've done this summer has exempted some of that.
I think also the trust and ensure is specific that we can only right now do something with a government entity. So the state of Oklahoma, the federal government, or the city of Chickasha. In other words, for us to do business with an outside entity, we have to amend the trust indenture. So right now, if a business comes to us, we cannot do business with them right now.
So that's the whole point. This document that Charlie is referring to does limit us with what we can do with that land to only those 3 types of government entities.
As the primary use. Now, Charlie, I do agree it's very confusing to read. A through C is the primary purpose, which Keith explained earlier. And when you refer to H, the way it was originally worded, it makes E through G secondary. So it has to be secondary to the primary. So if we're not doing business with a government entity, we would not be allowed to move forward.
So this takes that place and allows us to do,
It makes A through H now the primary purpose, so it gives the manager the ability to negotiate something and bring it back before council if we have something available.
Mayor?
Council, if I may, just
Yes,
to
ma'am.
expand on that, because the trust indenture can be confusing. So if you look at the trust indenture, it does provide in Part H, as it is currently written, wherever the same shall be or become material, the purposes set forth in paragraphs A to C, inclusive of this section, shall be the primary objectives of this trust, and the provisions of paragraphs D to G, inclusive, shall be deemed and construed in implementation thereof and collateral thereto. When you look at the purposes A, B, and C, which have been stated as the primary purposes, that's where it relates back to the United States, the state of Oklahoma, the city of Chickasha, or some other governmental entity. Now, there are other purposes, D, E, F, and G, which do give other powers. But when you read H and it says that paragraphs D to G inclusive shall be deemed and construed in implementation thereof and collateral thereto, my interpretation of that is that it is to effectuate the purposes of A, B, and C, the primary purposes. Now, can attorneys disagree as to interpretation? Absolutely. But as I have told you all and management before, I would rather be more conservative in my interpretation. I don't want to go to you at any point in time and say, management wants to look at this long-term lease. Management wants to look at potentially doing this development. And it's fine when I know that, you know what, this is actually not quite that clear and straightforward. I want you all to have that information. By making the amendment, we're removing the primary purposes. That does not mean that A, B, and C are now deleted. They are still there, but they are no longer stated to be the primary purposes, and therefore everything else is to effectuate those. It's simply another purpose. So what this does is allow the CMAA to have more options in the future. Again, this is changing this document. Anything else, any long-term lease, any potential development, any potential sale has to come back before the CMAA, and you all can make the decision at that time as to whether it's appropriate. All this does is give you clearly that option.
But it doesn't change how the funding of the CMAA is and the funds or anything like that. It's still the same. That's all the same. It doesn't affect that at all.
That does not affect this at all. Now, one thing I do want to state is, because it doesn't change those purposes, but where it originally had H, which said, okay, these are the primary purposes, I went ahead and added to promote economic development, the development of the aeronautical industry within and without the territorial limits of the beneficiary municipality, and to provide additional employment which will benefit and strengthen the economy of the beneficiary and the state of Oklahoma. That language is my language. I didn't get that from anybody. What I did with that is try to take my understanding of what I've heard from the city council, the CMAA, and management, and make sure that whatever future opportunities you all wanted to consider, that this would be broad enough to allow you to do that without question.
so to me, it takes the indenture, which has good bones, and just brings it up to a more modern document to be more, so the city can be more flexible to more modern opportunities than when the indenture was created in the first place.
It is more flexible, yes.
Yes.
Amanda, are you saying you feel like council had brought this to you of some matter?
I feel
in the
like-
past?
I feel like from listening to the city council that economic development and employment opportunities has seemed to be something that the council believes is important. So I wanted to take that and then with city management and staff and just have this as a tool for the CMAA council to have if the CMAA council so chose.
I really don't think there's a limitation there, and we know and have heard even from citizens about the community that it's a grand thing that we have the minerals under the airport and that the airport gets to keep the income from those matters. And I don't remember in these 33 pages of what we operate right now, there one time being the word oil and gas or minerals. But we're not limited from having them, and we're not limited to leasing them, and not limited to them in being exploited by somebody that took a lease and developed out there. So I just kind of raised that as a point too. I don't feel like we're limited here with what we've already got. And
They're saying we are, Charlie.
But
They're
we
saying
are, we're limited to the 3 government entities being the primary and really only, it has to be those and then others. It can't be just the others, the other industry. It has to be the government entities first, and these have to be collateral to those. That's the limitation. So we couldn't have a, auto parts manufacturer come out there unless it's ran by the state. Under the, you know what I mean? Just some industry, unless it's run by a government entity, correct, under the current setup.
But if a project
Correct.
comes forth, we still retain the ability to
Right.
say no even, so. that's-
And the terms of the deal. If we don't
Yeah,
want to sell them
terms of the
mineral
deal.
rights, we don't have to.
Should we want to sell the land, we could make it contingent on retaining the mineral rights.
Yeah.
Like I said, those are XYZ conversations, but we're having an ABC conversation right now. We can't get to the other conversations till we make it a pathway to even have them.
Can we point to the part of this that actually goes to that point Eric is talking about, that we retain the right? I didn't see that, I didn't read that in there, that the city of Chickasha actually, has the right to, review and go over all, whoever is going to bring a business out there or not. I don't see any of that wordage in there.
It's in the original document, correct?
Are you talking about contracts?
I'm talking about everything that was just said, that we retain the right to.
Is it in the original indenture?
No, I'm just reading what's in front of me, so.
You all have to agree in order to bind the CMAA, so that's not changing, that's
Okay.
nothing different. So just like any other contract has to come before you all, unless in the future you decide to delegate that authority, you can certainly do that. But that's the reason every single contract comes before you, because in order to bind the CMAA, you all have to approve it.
Right, I was just looking for the wordage
I think it's just in the original document. It's not being amended, so it's not in what's in our packet. It's not in the amended
Right, which is another
verbiage.
point, we really don't have that conversation that we can say, okay, this is the original, here's the new version with added language, and really be able to weigh that. Which tonight, we're just effectively having a work session at council, again.
Right.
And again. So this is the problem, the hundreds of hours and all of this. Well, we should have been, the work session is where we get read in and actually up to speed and be able to actually, examine it and talk about it. Everything we're doing tonight, and we're gonna be almost an hour now, so, so all we're doing now is we're making the city council basically a glorified formality. We're not really respecting the city council in a work session environment. That's the point I've made to the mayor several times, and I said, we're doing it by fiat right now. So we're asking all these questions, and it's pretty foggy. It could have been a lot better job if we were being able to really digest it. So, 2 cents.
Yeah, no,
Thank you.
add to that, I think the XYZ comments are good to have so we have no unintentional consequences of passing this like we've had in the past.
I understand that. I just don't like to talk in hypotheticals. I like to have actual information. We can go
Right.
down the rabbit hole on anything for as long as we want to.
Right, and
The
that's
what ifs can last forever.
exactly.
You know, and that's why I like to have the horse before we talk about what kind of cart we're going to put behind it. That's my opinion on how
But
this goes.
consequently, the entire TIF was incomplete based on a hypothetical. And we didn't really get to flesh that all the way out. We passed a TIF with no plan.
Well, it doesn't pertain to this item, but yes, you're right, but we didn't have a developer
It's
in
just
front
an
of us.
example.
No, I got you.
I don't want to go back and relitigate the TIF. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Leading up till now, the last several big things, if you will, lack of a better word, we just haven't been able to really discuss.
I got you. In that case, you couldn't have a complete plan because you didn't have anybody knock on the door saying, this is what I want to do.
Right, so
So again, it's kind of the same thing. We're trying to create tools, so if somebody does come and knock and we have, hey, we have this for you, you don't have to wait a year for us to get something done.
you know, and there probably is some great things here. We're just not, we are not doing this in the right way, not the right format at all. So that's my constant consternation. So, yeah, it could be all well and good, but it just is not, it's not being presented properly, so.
I would agree that on some of these grander issues that work sessions, but that's what we discussed. We've all, I think, weighed in that we would like to see more work sessions. I think that is definitely the plan going forward. But then I think that, especially for this one here tonight, I think Rachel was able to give the clear why we're changing it, what the limitations are, and then Amanda's been able, in my opinion, to reinforce that the heart of the indenture is not changing, it's being expanded so that we can pursue a wider range of industry. And, you know, I would say that a lot of people, that's their main desire. You know, there are so many folks that bring industry, bring industry, bring industry. And this is just, I think that they've shown us that this is, like Zach said, a tool in the tool belt to be able to do that in a more expansive way, because like Georgianne said, it's been this way for 30 years and there's nothing.
So yeah, my 2 cents would be thank you for listening, because we have talked about that a lot in the past. So thank you, Amanda, and all you guys for your work on it and for answering the questions that I had. I can tell you've done a lot of work on it, so thank you.
And to your point, Erica, like, I didn't see this issue, and I respect everybody else's opinions. I didn't see this issue as a work session issue, because all we're doing is deciding whether we want to keep things the way they were, or do we want to add a new tool to the toolbox to expand our repertoire. We're not changing vision, we're not changing policy, we're not changing anything major that's happening. We're just adding a little bit of zest to the recipe if we can do something on a piece of property that's been sitting there 20 plus years that's not done anything.
Well, I agree that, when, you know, something needs to change to get there, but, you know, and I think it's as a whole, the whole city as a whole, to attract industry, it's, you know, it's tough. But like I said, and I appreciate the explanations, and that helps. But like I said, in the future, it would be nice to be able to see what we're changing in the wordage, just so that I can bounce it off of it. Trust and verify. Trust but verify, whatever you want to say.
What's the old saying? You can't not over communicate, right?
Right.
Like
That's
there
right.
can always be
So-
better communication. You're 100%
Because,
right.
well, it's just, and it makes it rough when you get emails or calls and you're like, well, I don't know anything about it. You know,
Can't not be a double negative. You can't over communicate.
You can't over-communicate, exactly.
I think you're making my point, Zach.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and that's agreed with Oscar, same thing. It's, Erica makes a great point, but we haven't still not even heard, there's got to be some interest. Somebody's had to approach the city to trigger this event.
well, there's been people approach them, and I think a lot of it, from what I've known in the past or heard in the past, is we didn't know for sure what we could do with that property. And so they would do checks and balances, and, you know, last I heard is, oh, we can't sell it. You know, and then now, oh, we can. And so it's, the work that they've done is good, because like I said, it's all been up in the air, and so.
Right, it may not be a scenario where there's a person that's shown up knocking on the door ready to buy it, but maybe what we're seeing is people that are in positions doing their job, and they've identified a weak spot that our city manager, our city attorney, our, all the people who have been hired by the council to enact the best interests of the city have just fleshed out some weak points. And I think it definitely could just be as simple as that.
Well, and I also think that, as other states adopt policies that are not business friendly, there's going to be industry look other places that are more business friendly, and not only that, maybe land isn't outrageously priced, and even though it is high, it's not outrageously high, and so they're going to look at moving. Texas is getting filled up. They're going to look up north a little bit. So, anyways.
I would just like to say I've received more communication from citizens on this than I have in a long time. I would like to see it maybe tabled for 2 more weeks to get a work session in, add it to a work session with other things, just to do our due diligence on it.
I mean, are there any more questions that you have, or, we've
Well,
pretty much flushed
like I
everything
said,
out.
I'd like to make sure we don't have any unintentional consequences of changing this.
Any, sorry, what?
Unintentional consequences, like we've had other ordinances that have, I feel, had those.
Not to sound condescending, I don't know how to do that job better than our city staff already knows how to do that job. That's what they do for a living. That's what they do day in, day out, so.
I agree, but it comes to us for final.
I just disagree with that. I don't.
The city staff hadn't needed to do anything with it for many, many years. And
in the short time they've had something to do with it, they've found gaping issues to allow us to move forward and be productive in the next 20 years versus the last 20 years.
Prepared to name those gaping issues, Mr. Mayor?
The fact that we are limited to 3 different industries that we can have out there that are state government related, that's all we can do out there, or we can do industries that's subordinate to those 3 things, if I'm understanding. So there is limitation there. And again, like I stated earlier, those limitations may not have seemed like a big deal, 40, 50 years ago, 60 years ago when this indenture was created, but things have changed and we're in the modern era now, so we need modern tools to be able to compete effectively in today's modern economy and modern business world.
If I were to convey something to you, liquidate, dispose of, there would be something from me going to you, but we've added the word sell. Council, can you speak to the differences in the language there?
So I think what you're getting at is that liquidate and sell pretty much mean the same thing, and I would agree with that, but again, as I told you just a few minutes ago, when I come before you and say, okay, you want to sell that property? Right there, there's no question. It's there black and white. So Charlie, liquidate, I agree, means dispose of, sell. This is just another word in there.
So we're cleaning up the language to make it more transparent in the future if we choose to do things that we're actually following in line with what we've chosen to do versus operating in a gray area where we may or may not be able to do what we want to do.
And it's not the only language in here that could be discussed at a work session. I really appeal that we might remove the motion and ask for a work session.
Would you like to remove your motion?
No, sir, I would not. I'd like to call for a roll call.
Well, so what is that called, a point to order or whatever? Call. I mean, do we have any more discussion? She's not willing to remove her.
Oh, tons of discussion.
Okay, so you want to call the,
Question.
what is it called? Call the question?
Yeah.
Say that again? You're going to call a question. So that means we're on.
Call to question is where we vote on whether we're going to go to a vote. So it ends discussion, and we just.
I mean, if you have something else to say, say it, but we're circling and saying the same thing over and over.
Well, I would remove the language that says pay for the same with cash, with bonds, or other evidences of indebtedness or otherwise.
Why? Sorry.
In my review of finding the 30-some page document of the past that we currently are charged with operating under with right now, looking at the matter that's presented before us at council right now, it doesn't contain that language anymore, and why would we take that out? Now, I see that we've taken out the word aforesaid. Is that just not modern language that we take out aforesaid a few times? I can still read it without the word aforesaid in there, but apparently we've taken out pay for the same in cash with bonds or other evidence of indebtedness. And maybe council's owed an explanation for that language too. There's more than one matter here about the word sell.
I just think we're flirting with the fine line of operational. I mean, if they've written this up with legal advice, and I'm not here to pick apart and give recommendations on what should or shouldn't be in it. Our job is to approve it or to deny it, is my understanding. Am I understanding this right, Zach? So I don't understand why we're picking apart lines and sentences and words and definition of words. Or we're going to be here till midnight.
That's legislation.
Well, then we just deny it.
That's legislative wordage, and that is our
If
wheelhouse.
we don't like what's presented, then we deny what's in front of us. We don't pick it apart.
I'm not a lawyer.
I'm not a lawyer, right? I'm
No,
not
but
staff.
it just seems like we're shouting down the fact that we need work sessions for these types of things, and you guys are calling to order.
I think we're down a rabbit hole. I think this has become a way bigger deal than what it really is. And that it's turned into a work session when it's not a work session. It's a simple, do we want to make this change or do we not?
Okay.
And the work session would be if something's presented to us and we have a plan before us and say, this is what they want to do, that could be a work session because that is a major deal. That is a major change. This is just allowing for that proposal to even be presented, if and so somebody wants to. So we have a call to question. Does that need a second, Amanda?
Yes.
Okay. So again, we're having a call to question. Do we have a second for a call to question?
Second.
So we have a second. So what this means is if we vote, we deny it, then I guess we still continue to talk. If it passed, then we vote on the issue at hand. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. Roll call.
Ginn,
Yes.
Hebblethwaite,
Yes.
Smith,
No.
Alexander,
Yes.
Burris,
No.
Curtis,
No.
Boyd,
No.
Nelson,
Yes.
Grayson.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Okay. So now we're gonna vote on the item 4A that has a motion and a second to approve or deny. Right? A yes is to approve, and a no is obviously against it.
I think that's what the motion was.
Well, there's motions to approve, but if you vote no, you're gonna,
No, that was to vote.
you wanna vote no if you don't wanna approve the motion, you wanna vote yes if you do wanna approve the motion. Correct?
Oh,
Correct.
we just, okay, we just.
Yeah, we're voting on the issue.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah, sorry, I apologize. I may have made that a little more convoluted than it needed to be. Roll call, please.
Hebblethwaite,
Yes.
Smith,
No.
Alexander,
Yes.
Burris,
No.
Curtis,
No.
Boyd,
No.
Nelson,
Yes.
Ginn,
Yes.
Grayson.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
So we are adjourned. I would like to reconvene the Chickasha City Council meeting. Need a roll call.
Boyd,
Here.
Nelson,
Here.
Ginn,
Here.
Hebblethwaite. Here. Smith,
Here.
Alexander,
Here.
Burris.
Here.
Curtis,
Here.
Grayson.
Here. Item 4, consent docket. Charlie, you had some things you wanted to pull?
Yes, please. If we could pull consent docket A. I'm sorry, consent docket 4. It was consent docket. I've got B, D, F, G, H, and I.
Okay. I will entertain a motion to approve the consent docket except for items B, D, F, G, and I. I got them all right, Charlie, right?
Thank you.
I'll take that as a yes.
B,
Yes, sir.
B, D,
Thank
F,
you.
G, H, and I.
BDFGHI.
Boyd, David, Foxtrot, G, Golf, and India, I.
H.
Oh, is there an H in there too?
F, G, H, and I, please.
Okay, I missed H.
and I.
2, 3, 4, 5.
Missed H.
Yes.
Hey, I've got one question on E. On the consent docket.
I'm sorry?
I've got one question for Spencer on E. It's nothing major, I just have a question on it, so do we need to pull it for me to ask it, or?
No, because we can have,
be
we can have discussion on a, we gotta pull it, don't we, to have discussion on it? Yeah.
Have a discussion. But we don't
E's
have a-
pulled?
We don't have a motion and a
Oh, I
second
guess
yet.
it's
We
not.
can't open discussion until we have a motion and a second.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent docket and remove item B, D, E, F, G, H, and I.
Did you get E in there, Brian?
Which one?
E, Echo?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Oscar, that was the one you had, right? Okay, so we have a motion.
Second.
Second. Discussion? Roll call.
Boyd,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Ginn,
Yes.
Ebblethwaite,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Alexander,
Yes.
Burris,
Abstain.
Curtis,
Yes.
Grayson.
Yes. Item 4B, approve amendment to section 5.01, holidays of employees. Manual to redefine holiday pay amount as regularly scheduled shift hours instead of 8 hours.
I make a motion to approve amendment to section 5.01I, holidays of the employee, manual to redefine holiday pay amount as a regularly scheduled shift hours instead of 8 hours.
Second.
Discussion.
Not surprisingly, I got confused on this, and Tracy, you've got the microphone close. I'm struggling with holiday pay versus paid holidays. So what is it that we want to do here? Is this discussing how people are paid when they work on a holiday? Or is this discussing how people are paid that get paid holidays?
This is for pay that people receive when we're closed and they're not working. So it's for holiday pay.
Okay.
Paid holiday, or when you're working on a holiday, is defined in other sections of our pay rules and under the employment. So this is just defining how many hours people would get paid for a holiday when we're closed and they're not working.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I have a question on the holidays observed. I'm not seeing Juneteenth on there, and I know in the past we've observed that. So does that need to be added to this, or?
I don't think that in the actual printed employee manual that we have, it wasn't updated after the last passing of the holiday schedule. So that is not the most current holiday schedule.
Okay.
That is in the online version of the
Okay.
employee manual.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Roll call, please.
Nelson,
Yes.
Ginn,
Yes.
Ebblethwaite,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Alexander,
Yes.
Burris,
Yes.
Gertis,
Yes.
Boyd,
Yes.
Grayson.
Yes. Item 4D, approve a request from Chickasha Optimists to conduct their 10th annual Christmas Carol 5K run on Saturday, September 7th, 2024 at 8 a.m.
I make a motion to approve a request from Chickasha Optimists to conduct their 10th annual Christmas Carol 5K run on Saturday, December 7th at 8 a.m.
Second.
Discussion.
Had a concern on the matter, and I think there was maybe information from a previous year's request, so it might have not been from this year's request, but there was phraseology where the person requesting said, there's not very much traffic in that area, something like that. And I thought, oh my gosh, 16th Street, this race would be going up and down 16th Street for better than a half mile, maybe 5/8 to 3/4 of a mile. Probably on a Saturday morning could be very busy. So I don't know, are we prepared to assist them in that and the citizens that need to use the street?
Yes, we are.
Think we're good to go on that?
It's what we did last year, right? With the same precautions that we
this for
taken?
years.
Past 10 years? This is
Yeah.
the 10th annual?
This is an annual event that they request. They've never had any problems before. They have a lot of volunteers that help with the guiding through the area.
Great.
So they're very experienced at safety and organizing it.
Yeah,
Charlie, you may be
most
at-
Saturday mornings, there's not that much traffic.
You say
at
you may
8
be up
o'clock.
at 8 a.m. on a Saturday, Charlie, but I'm not.
Yeah. Yeah, I found it says we would like to coordinate the traffic control with Chickasha Police, even though traffic is minimal on this route. That's the part that got me. I don't know about minimal on 16th Street, but if we're prepared for it, I like their effort. I do have one more question, and this is the one that apparently is from a historical request of theirs, probably dated year 2000. They put, based on the past 4 years, this event has attracted at least 200 participants. They made that statement. And my question is that at least 200 people per year? Or is that, oh, there was about 50 people a year times 4 years equals 200?
Councilman Burris, that's just the information that was provided by the group. I assume by the language that's per year.
I don't know if anybody knew, but
That's per year.
per year, 200?
Yeah, there's a good turnout.
That'll be a
It's
variety.
quite a popular event.
That'll be a variety of speeds. If I were to participate, I would certainly be the last one, but there would be a lot of winners in front, and there could be another 200 up and down 16th Street, is my point with that matter. So I've had my questions answered, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Any more discussion? Roll call, please.
Ginn,
Yes.
Hebblethwaite,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Alexander,
Yes.
Burris,
Yes.
Curtis,
Yes.
Boyd,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Grayson.
Yes. Item 4E, authorize staff to solicit bids for RFP COC-2408 Shannon Springs Park, design, build swimming pool rehabilitation.
Okay.
I make a motion to authorize staff to solicit bids for RFP COC-2408 Shannon Springs Park Design Build Swimming Pool Rehabilitation.
Second.
Oscar, the floor is yours.
Okay, hey Spencer, the only thing I wondered was, on the detailed scope of work, replace the pipe in kind. Was there not a study that showed that we weren't up to code with the sizing of our pipes or something like that on that swimming pool?
A second opinion come by, and so the first guy was like, no, it's not, you're out of compliance. Second guy came by, and I had a third guy come by as well. He's like, in question, the line, the original guy thought that there was suction on those vents that could be potentially cause someone to get stuck to them. But those vents are all gravity fed, and so they're not under direct suction, so the pool is still within
Okay,
those
so they
parameters.
can replace
Yes,
the
that's
pipe in
a great
kind.
memory, but yes, I double, triple checked that, so.
Okay, all right.
How do you remember that, Oscar? So how do you remember?
I remember weird things, but anyway.
Duly noted. Any more discussion? Roll call, please.
Hebblethwaite,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Alexander,
Yes.
Burris,
Yes.
Curtis,
Yes.
Boyd,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Ginn,
Yes.
Grayson.
Yes. Item 6F, authorize staff to solicit bids for RFP COC-2407 Shannon Springs Park, design, build splash pad rehabilitation Phase 1.
Move to approve?
Second.
Discussion.
I thought Charlie had something on F, but I actually do as well on that. On the underground water supply pipelines, are those bad? Or, I mean, they should be okay, or is it just easier to replace those when they're updating their splash pad?
The underground, what was that?
You have in there to, on the second paragraph, the project consists of removing and replacing and/or repairing splash pad elements, including water control valves, and then the underground water supply pipelines.
Right. Yeah, so there are areas that are broken down below that make it so we can't leave the system under pressure because it will just run water out the back end of it. So
Okay.
it's not only, there's a couple of them that are broken, like I said, on the piping and
Underneath.
below. So those lines need to be replaced. And
Okay.
then there's the valves themselves are in need of repair.
Okay.
Yep.
That was Charlie's. I thought he wanted F out.
You beat him to it. Roll call.
Smith.
Yes.
Alexander.
Yes.
Burris.
Yes.
Curtis.
Yes.
Boyd.
Yes.
Nelson.
Yes.
Gann.
Yes.
Edelthwaite.
Yes.
Grayson.
Yes. Item H,
And G.
did I miss one?
G.
Oh, yep, G, I didn't have a circle, that's my fault. Item G, authorize staff to solicit bids, RFP COC 2406, Design Build 2024, City Council Chambers AV improvements.
I move we authorize staff to solicit bids for RFP COC 2406, Design Build 2024 City Council Chambers AV improvements.
Second.
Discussion.
I had a question under specifications on page 88 of our packet. About midway down, not quite midway down, 1.2.7. Replace cameras, and I've underlined, or add cameras to ensure full coverage of speaker locations in the room. Are we talking about people speaking, or are we talking about the device that sound comes out of?
Where are you reading again?
I'm on page 88,
Right.
the specifications.
Yeah, what paragraph or what number?
Scope of work is 1.2, and I'm down at 1.27, I guess.
I'll hop in and answer. I'm back here, sorry. It's to actually cover the people who are speaking. Right now, in order to get like Susan, we actually don't get Susan she's on camera, just not very well. And to get staff is very difficult.
Okay.
And so adding a couple of extra cameras would enhance what we're able to show in here.
In the end, would anybody that ever participated in the meeting, including the public, be shown by a camera somewhere? The staff table when they answer on their microphone and...
They're currently shown, but yes, if
Okay.
somebody was speaking, that's the goal.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Any more discussion? Roll call.
Alexander.
Yes.
Burris.
Yes.
Curtis.
Yes.
Boyd.
Yes.
Nelson.
Yes.
Gann.
Yes.
Edelthwaite.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Grayson.
Yes. Item 4H, approve the request from Chickasha High School Student Council to conduct their annual homecoming parade Friday, October 11th, 2024.
Make a motion that we approve the request from the Chickasha High School Student Council to conduct their annual homecoming parade on Friday, October 11th, 2024.
Second.
Discussion.
Yes. I've written it here. This is my personal observation last year. I love the homecoming parade. I know people that have been involved in it. I've personally been involved in it years ago. I've written, last year, loose decoration debris was scattered about the 3rd and Colorado area for weeks. I know of 2 extra cleanup personnel that put around 12 hours in simply picking up the loose debris. And it included popped balloons, like maybe you see when people want to have a water balloon fight and the little teeny tiny tie-off piece of the balloons, and pieces of tinsel that were down in the cracks of the parking lot of First Baptist Church, I think, which has been their staging area for some of them. And I don't know if it was all involved with quick decoration
It had to do with
or
the
last
wind.
minute tear down and the wind, but I've never seen it like that before. I've been involved with the effort quite a bit.
I'll tell you
So-
that this year they've made changes to the homecoming. The classes will not be doing floats as normal. They'll be decorating downtown windows as their competitive decoration. So what will happen
for the large majority of the floats this year is they will be the students on trailers like the football team kind of does, where it's not a decorated float. So that should mitigate that problem.
Then I suggest that we deny this because it's asking the floats will arrive at 4 in the afternoon and the parade will begin at 4:30.
They're still floats, it's just not decorated floats. It's not the ones that create all the trash. The students will still be riding with their class on trailers, they just won't be covered in pomps.
Yeah, they'll have probably class signs
Right.
and stuff like that.
Was this is a sideline issue? Would you be able to tell me what prompted that?
It had to do with buildings for the creation of the floats being unavailable largely to the classes, participation of students, because this falls during several athletic seasons, and so they have, they've had a hard time the past few years getting students to help in that 2-week decorating and building the floats. And so they're just looking for ways to change homecoming up, make it fun and more inclusive and less stress on the parents and students who do participate and the class sponsors.
Well, thank you for that. I know it's not a council issue.
Right.
Any more discussion? Roll call, please.
Bruce?
Sorry, was that me?
Yes.
I'm for it, thank you. Yes.
Gertis?
Yes.
Boyd?
Yes.
Nelson?
Yes.
Ginn?
Yes.
Evelthwaite?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Alexander?
Yes.
Grayson?
Yes. Item 4I, approve an easement agreement with TPA 7 LLC and authorize resolution 2024-23R authorizing the city manager of the city of Chickasha, Oklahoma to sign an easement agreement on behalf of the city of Chickasha, Oklahoma, and to execute all closing documents related to such easement agreement, including an assignment of lease. Yes. Sorry. Go ahead.
I make a motion to approve an easement agreement with TPA 7 LLC and authorize Resolution 2024-23R, authorizing the city manager of the city of Chickasha, Oklahoma, to sign said easement agreement on behalf of the city of Chickasha, Oklahoma, and to execute all closing documents related to such easement agreement, including an assignment of lease.
Second.
Discussion?
I've got all kinds of problems with this. One of the big ones I pointed out to the city manager was in the past agreement, probably well before his time here, we had the person that held the lease on it, the company that held the lease on it, show up on the rainiest day, early in the morning, with one of those huge cranes, all the wheels on it, backed up on private property, got stuck, did not have anything for barriers, did not have anything for detour, did not have anything for warning to the police department, and we blocked Country Club Road with a monstrosity. And this new agreement just has them the right to do it at any time without them notifying us of a moment's notice. Just one of the things that are not friendly to the citizens of the community.
There's verbiage in here they can block the road at any time they see fit?
They have access to it without warning.
To block the road, what's what you're speaking to, right?
The result is.
So it's not in the agreement, it's just what somebody did 20-something years ago.
About 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay, so 4 years ago.
And
it's just something somebody
these
did.
people have been assigned that agreement. And last meeting, we've, given them.
Yeah, we've already approved this agreement. It's, the company requested a technical change in the name. We didn't have that correct in the documents, but the council has already approved the easement. And the issues to which Councilmember Burris is speaking to certainly are concerns. Anytime somebody wants to block a road, they have to get permission to do so. And if they've made a mess, broken something, require cleanup, that's on them. So that doesn't change under the terms of this agreement. But those are certainly legitimate concerns we would have for anybody.
Would we be willing to add to the end of it that notification be made?
I think we've already approved the agreement.
This is just changing a title.
Yeah.
Keith, wasn't this the one, I know that there was a sum up front, so on the $10 and no, can you explain what that is?
I'm sorry, on the what, Pete?
On the number 2, it says a grant of easement for the sum of 10 and no dollars and other good valuable consideration. It's on page 98 of 165. That was something I just highlighted. I didn't remember that one.
Yeah, that's just some legal language in the agreement.
Okay, I didn't know the $10, what that was.
Yeah, you don't normally put the actual amount in agreements.
Okay.
So when you see the $10, you'll see that in a lot of the documents.
Okay,
It's
thank
just-
you.
So Amanda, let me ask you this. Since we've already approved the agreement, if this gets denied, the other agreement's still in effect, right?
That's correct, yes.
Okay.
And basically what it is their company has a lot of companies, and one of them they're working with requested that it be in this name. Everything else is the same.
Now, city manager, are you saying we approved this last meeting?
Correct.
I did not remember seeing the assignment of lease in last meeting's packet. So I think they're trying to get a little extra something in here. This former lease.
It was on
It should have been new.
there. Yeah, it should have been on there last time.
I believe it was.
So it just seems as simple as Chickasha's had a water tower for a long time. Perhaps in about 2001, an agreement was made to have appurtenances of telecom or something on top of our water tower. I think that agreement, which we haven't been able to see, and you cannot look it up in public records because it's only listed there as a memorandum. So council's not had a look at that original agreement. I think we had last meeting, had the approval process, but now the fact that, and we knew it in last meeting, that the new company had taken an assignment from the first company, and now we're giving up our rights in that original agreement with the totally new agreement.
Which we've already approved.
I guess I'm not following what you're saying. Can you rephrase that for me?
The assignment of lease that appears here is saying that certain tower lease with option dated October 16, 2001, between Chickasha Municipal Authority. I think I had a countdown of it. So October 16, 2001, with the option, they would have had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 month plus a 6 months option and a 1 to 3 month renewal. That agreement would have been done 7/16/02. That's the first 5 years. They had one more 5 years that they could renew it. That was 7/16/07. That was 5 years. And it should have ended on 7/16/12, would have been the end date.
Yeah, I don't have all those renewals in front of me. I just have the original tower lease with option.
Were they considered in the negotiations? Did we look at our original agreement
Yes.
and the renewals and lay them on one side and see what the company's proposing? And what did the city gain from the negotiations?
We
what
talked
the
about
city
this
gained,
last council meeting, Charlie. We hashed all this out last council.
Would it be okay to have a reminder? It's pertinent.
We've already approved it though, so you can be reminded all you want, but it's not going to change anything. We've already approved this agreement. We're just approving a technical change on the document we've already approved. So I'm not understanding what you're driving at. Like, what is your end goal? Because we can't, even if we deny this, the agreement's in place. It just won't have the technical change they're requesting. So I don't understand what your end goal is,
I
because
feel like more than a name change exists in what we're being asked to approve tonight.
Keith, is that accurate?
Yeah. 'Cause, 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 just a name change as far as we're concerned.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any more discussion? Roll call, please.
Gertis,
Yes.
Boyd,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Ginn,
Yes.
Ebblethwaite,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Alexander,
Yes.
Burris,
Abstain.
Grayson.
Yes. Item 6A, discussion, consideration, and possible action to approve financing for a 100-foot aerial fire truck and engine pumper truck.
I move we approve financing for the 100-foot aerial fire truck and engine pumper truck.
Second.
Discussion.
We, it says presenting financial options. Is that?
Those the papers at your.
If I may, the bid proposals are there in front of you. And before we discuss those, though, I really want to say that while I was out getting those proposals, we have so many wonderful and friendly people at our financial institutions in the city of Chickasha and also in Grady County. It was a great experience. I got to spend time visiting with them. But these were the proposals that I had received, and I have also reviewed them with our city manager. And of course, this is up to you guys, but my recommendation is Liberty Bank. And the reason I'm saying Liberty Bank is they were very amenable in accordance to our delayed audits. So that is my recommendation.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
How many, and I'm just curious, how many banks did we send out for request?
I have Liberty, and then the First National Bank, and then also Great Plains, and they're located in Tuttle. And I also did contact Simmons, but they were unable to get me something.
I think that was, I'm sorry, I should have rephrased the question better. That's what I was curious, if there was banks that we approached that just didn't submit a
Yes.
proposal. Okay.
Yes.
We also reached out nationally to leasing companies that specialize in this type of financing for leasing options for us, and we figured out that it was going to cost us anywhere between $47,000 and $75,000 more by going through that option. On the front end, it looks really good because they prepaid, but your interest kicks in day one. So while we were waiting for the truck to be built, we would be accruing interest. And so we decided not to go that option.
And one more thing, in working on these, we've discussed it many times, that those fire trucks are going to be 36 to 38 months out before we get them. Right. And once we sign the purchase agreement, we are not required to put any money down with them. So we don't have to do anything with any type of funds until we take delivery on them, which will be real helpful.
Which is extraordinary.
Yeah.
So if this is approved tonight, then we're locked in at 4.75, according to this
The
sheet.
feds are supposed to maybe drop rates, this week or next week? Here pretty quick.
That's what I'm concerned with. If
Yeah.
we lock it down,
We
and
not
then the
sign a
interest rate
purchase
drops.
agreement and then-
Because all the others on their bids
Yeah.
have the asterisk by them saying, it's going to be at market rate. So if it drops to 3%,
Right.
that's a lot of money.
It is, and I know when visiting with them, it was kind of like, man, I'm asking $1 million question here, what the interest rate is going to be. But
Well, that's a gamble in itself.
it
You never
is.
know, but-
It is.
I mean, I don't know how it works on big purchases like this, but I mean, the 4.75 seems like a pretty reasonable rate. My wife just bought a truck and it was like a 5.9, or something. So, see, that's, yeah.
Wow.
Interest rates are falling. The Fed is proposing probably another rate decrease. It won't go down to 3%. It could be substantially less basis points than that.
Right.
But it's very difficult for us, for anybody, to predict interest rates. If you're able to do that, you can make a lot of money. But the 4.75 is a very reasonable interest rate in light of what we've seen nationally and in other purchases.
Especially for 3 years.
Yeah.
That was my concern is we vote tonight, we lock it tonight, right?
Are we able to provide the annual audit? Pardon? I noticed under additional requirements, apparently the one in yellow at the top is recommended by staff, and it says provide annual audit to bank.
Yes, they're all asking for the audits,
Okay.
the up-to-date audits, and I am very happy to say that the 2022 audit is completely with our auditor, Andy, and so that is being worked on. So we will be ready to turn right back around and get started on 2023.
Awesome.
Is that what they require, was just the last audit?
Yeah, I mean, they all want to see audits, but the Liberty, they were, you know, not as concerned, I guess, about the audit. But
Yeah, they're good for it.
of course, this is totally up to the council.
Audit, schmaudit.
Whatever you think is best.
Said if the city goes.
So do we even have a motion on this?
We have
or-
a motion and second, but they did not designate which
Correct, that's
option
what I
that
was,
they
that's where I was
chose.
going. We have to designate in that motion which option we want to go with, if.
So I made that motion, right?
Was it, is it just, I got one question too. Is it only because First National wants the 3 years of audits? I mean, theirs is $1,000 cheaper
Yeah, I mean, yes.
because
that
there's
was-
no origination fee. I mean,
If I may, Councilmember, the banking business is a bit distributed in the sense that we don't work with just a single bank. We
Yeah.
try to work with pretty much all of our local banks and spread that around a little bit. First National has been a first-rate bank for us. They do a great job, provide great service. We did feel like it was important for us to look and consider other banks on this kind of arrangement. We do have some deposits at Liberty already. They've been, again, another great bank. Our experience with Great Plains is also good, but they don't have a Chickasha presence, but that's not a requirement. It's just we do like to work with our local banks as much as we can, and that was part of the influence of choosing Liberty National as our recommended option here.
Kia just pointed out too, that they're not necessarily locked in at the 4.75 or 4.69 because there are some variabilities based upon when, by the asterisks at the bottom.
Yes.
Yeah, prior to-
Never mind, I removed my question.
Only the final rate will be determined.
Okay, so I change or amend my motion to include approval of financing through Liberty National Bank as presented.
Okay. And I resecond my second.
Any more discussion on that? Roll call.
Boyd,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Ginn,
Yes.
Hebblethwaite,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Alexander,
Yes.
Burris,
Abstain.
Gertis,
Yes.
Grayson.
Yes. Item 6B, discussion, consideration, and possible action to approve resolution number 2024-22R approving and accepting the First Amendment to the Trust Indenture creating Chickasha Municipal Airport Authority dated August 16, 1993, approving and authorizing amending Article 3 of the Trust Indenture by deleting Part H so that to remove the primary purpose of the trust and replace Part H with purpose to allow for the promotion of economic development, the development of aeronautical industry within and without the territorial limits of the beneficiary municipality, and to provide additional employment opportunities with the intent to benefit and strengthen the economy of the beneficiary of the state of Oklahoma, approving and authorizing amending Article 7A2 of the trust indenture to provide that the powers held by the trustees relating to the property of the trust applies to real and personal property, authorizing and approving the execution of the First Amendment to the trust indenture and containing other provisions relating thereto.
Move to table.
Have a second? Or do I need to
Second.
vote on that? Tabling? Okay, he's got, Kelly's a second. Roll call?
Nelson?
No.
Ginn? No. Ebethwaite?
No.
Smith?
No.
Alexander? No.
Burris?
Yes.
Curtis?
No.
Boyd?
Yes.
Grayson?
No. I'll entertain another motion.
Make a motion that we approve Resolution 2024-22R as presented.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call, please.
I do have discussion, please.
Okay.
It's all coming on us pretty fast, and we've had a long discussion in the airport meeting. What is the appropriateness that it's here in this meeting?
The city has to agree to it as well. Your earlier vote was as a member of the Municipal Airport Authority. This vote is to accept that vote. It's a technicality, but that's how it works. So this is just to reaffirm the vote that was taken earlier.
Is that coming from the original 33-page agreement?
This is more of a procedural vote here.
Is that a charter thing? Or do we know where that comes from?
The city as the beneficiary is required to approve the amendment.
So the airport authority, being the trustees of the airport authority, we're the first presiding entity over it, but overarching is the city entity, which is the council.
That's correct.
Okay.
Correct, as the beneficiary.
We have to approve our approval.
Yes, sometimes there can be different membership of trust authorities.
Gotcha. But in this case, they're all the same. Yeah.
Thank you.
Roll call?
Nelson?
Yes.
Ginn?
Yes.
Hebblethwaite?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Alexander?
Yes.
Burris?
No.
Curtis?
Yes.
Boyd?
No.
Grayson?
Yes. Item 6C, discussion, consideration, and possible action to authorize the purchase of the C-55 or 550 CCTV system upgraded for the camera truck using state contract, make sure I read that right, contract SW0193 in the amount of $84,450.58.
Make a motion to authorize the purchase of the C-550 CCTV system upgrade for the camera truck using state contract SW0193 in the amount of $84,450.58.
Second.
Discussion.
Questions? Is this not an actual vehicle? Is this just the equipment that goes in back of the vehicle? It's not a vehicle.
It's retrofitting the present truck that we have.
Do we have one?
We have one truck that does not work.
Is
We have to go outside to get a camera in. We would utilize this a lot more to look at the problems with the sewers when they have backups and find out what the problem is so we can fix it with this camera.
I
It's
beg
adjustable and will fit most sewer lines.
I'd hate to be called judgmental, but the last time I saw it operating, I wouldn't think the value of the truck we're using would be $5,000 or $6,000. Is it quite an old repurposed vehicle that we use to house this equipment and move it around?
It's an old repurposed truck that you're using.
Now, the truck presently is in really good shape.
Okay.
It's the camera and that equipment that is outdated and broken, and that's why we need to refit it
to get a whole new truck is $350,000 to get a new unit. So by retrofitting this, it'll take us about 8 weeks to get it in and get it fitted, and we can quit trying to go outside for other services.
Jim, are the uses for freshwater lines or just the other kind of lines?
Freshwater lines or just sewer?
No, this is just, this is a camera truck that will go inside a sewer line and identify if it's broken, bad tap, worn out, what the problem is,
Okay.
and allows us to get in and be able to repair it.
I guess some kind of verifying it won't intermingle with the fresh water ever.
Right.
Thank you.
Roll call, please.
Ken?
Yes.
Evelthwaite?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Alexander?
Yes.
Burris?
Yes.
Curtis?
Yes.
Boyd?
Yes.
Nelson?
Yes.
Grayson?
Yes. Discussion D, or item D, discussion, consideration, and possible action to authorize purchase of Godwin 300U dump body and installation using state contract SW0106 in the amount of $30,047.40.
I make a motion that we authorize the purchase of the Godwin 300 uniform dump body and installation using state contract SW0106 in the amount of $30,047.40.
Second.
Discussion?
The length of bed, was it more than 10 feet?
How long is the length of the bed?
10 foot.
Okay.
It's a 5 cubic yard truck. It's a single axle in the back, and replaces one of the dump trucks we presently is broken down and old, and something we really need. We haul stuff almost daily with our dump trucks.
Is it more than the cemetery? Is it citywide usage?
The citywide usage or more than the cemetery?
We use it citywide. We
Okay.
also use it in the cemetery. We haul dirt out of the cemetery, or if they need some dirt brought in, which is rare, we'll haul it in too.
Thank you.
Roll call, please.
Evelthwaite?
Yes.
Smith?
Yeah.
Alexander?
Yes.
Burris?
Yes.
Curtis?
Yes.
Boyd?
Yes.
Nelson?
Yes.
Ginn?
Yes.
Grayson?
Yes. Item 6E, discuss consideration of possible action to authorize the purchase of a 2025 MV607 SBA International Cab Chassis truck with a state contract SW0035T, an amount of $86,786.55.
Move to authorize the purchase of a 2025 MV 607 SBA International Cab Chassis truck using state contract SW0035T in the amount of $86,786.55.
Second.
Discussion.
Verification, please. This is corresponding with the previously approved bed. Thank you.
That's what I was going to ask. Okay. Very
Roll call, please.
Smith?
good. Yes.
Alexander?
Yes.
Burris?
Yes.
Curtis?
Yes.
Boyd?
Yes.
Nelson?
Yes.
Ginn?
Yes.
Evelthwaite?
Yes.
Grayson?
Yes. Good thing that got approved. It had a bed with no body. All right. Item number 7, adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
We're adjourned. I'd like to call it to order the Chickasha Municipal Authority. I need a roll call, please.
Boyd?
Here.
Nelson?
Oh, I'm here.
Ginn?
Here.
Evelthwaite?
Here.
Smith?
Here.
Alexander?
Here.
Burris?
Here.
Curtis?
Here.
Grayson?
Here. Item 2, consent docket.
I move we approve the consent docket as presented.
Second.
Roll call.
Boyd?
Yes.
Nelson?
Yes.
Ginn?
Yes.
Evelthwaite?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Alexander?
Yes.
Burris?
Yes.
Curtis?
Yes.
Grayson?
Yes. Item 4, adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
We're adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Susan, do we need to sign tonight?
Yes. Everybody-